Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time here. My name is Marty. Today we are back with episode 2 of Severance. Now, one of the reasons I'm really excited about this is because season 2 has just released here in the UK. I did in fact watch episode 1 some time back, so I am probably gonna have to catch up a little bit. I rewatched episode 1 yesterday to get some kind of a reminder, but something that's probably gonna take me a second to remember. The fact that his neighbor is his boss blew my mind at the end of it. There was also the guy that turned out to be his best friend from work. I can't wait to get stuck back into the show because episode 1 was exactly what I love to see in this kind of show. By the way, as you probably guessed, I'm going to watch season 1 and season 2 here on the channel, so stay tuned for that and feel free to subscribe to get those straight to your subscriptions. Without further ado, if you want to check out the full uncut reaction, you can check it out over on the Patreon page or as a YouTube member as well. But this is Severance Season 1, Episode 2. And this episode is called Half Loop.
I acknowledge that henceforth my access to my memories will be spatially dictated. I will be unable to access outside recollections whilst on Lumon's severed basement floor.
That's still a very weird concept.
Nor retain work memories upon my ascent. I am aware this alteration is irreversible.
So we're going back to when she made the tape.
That's a wrap. Come with me, please.
I can't imagine how terrifying it must be to have the surgery done.
So your work personage will be waking in a few hours on the severed floor. The next time you yourself will be sentient will be this evening.
Love that shot. That was like a mimic of the shot we saw in episode 1.
Good morning, Lawrence.
So was that guy the founder of it then, carved into the side of the building. Oh! Yeah.
They say it doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm. And I can get squeamish at stuff sometimes as well.
Relax.
Thanks for that. I'm not even looking. I'm sorry guys, I'm not even looking. I can't look. I'm not good with surgical type stuff. Is it okay now? Please. So they physically have a surgery done in the brain.
Sorry if I freak out on you a little.
Well, that's weird with the x-ray.
I'm very excited to meet you.
Creepy. Yeah. Oh, it's like a chip of some kind. The visualization of it is incredible.
Oh, what's happening?
Your orientation's been so much fun.
Where am I?
When a new hire is adjusting to a severed space, we help by bringing them here to the stairwell to experience the transition viscerally.
I'm trying to leave.
No, if you want to spin around and head back in, that should be that.
So this is like what happened.
Hey there.
This is the other way around to what happened in episode 1.
Want to give it another shot? Maybe with a little oomph?
Oh, so is this her awoken state, not the other side of her, which is the work side of her?
I'm at the stairwell. It's going fair. No, she's...
It's just like her body kicking her out of the building.
You're an inquisitive one.
I don't want to be in there, do I?
You're learning that you do. When we heard you were coming here, it was like a miracle. It's amazing what you're doing.
What is she doing? Is she a plant? That's her brain switch. Yeah, this is what I wondered. I wondered if when they did that, if it would
One day down?
flick to... That's creepy. The CGI, the digital versions of the... Wait, who did the graphic work, the digital work? I think I know of the creator. See the guy that does the really weird digital effects stuff on Instagram? And the way that everything looks the same because of the angle of the camera. Oh, the angle of everything looked the same, there was no distance. Sorry, nerdy, but... Oh, so they don't have janitors or anything. They even do stuff like cleaning themselves. Fresh cup of roasted coffee. Oh yeah, there's that guy on the picture on the left. Is he gonna notice? Is he gonna remember? Oh.
Hey,
I liked that though, the introduction of the girl.
It's Monday.
A weekend just happened. I don't even feel like I left.
You didn't.
I find it helps to focus on the effects of sleep since we don't actually get to experience it.
So it's 9:05.
They stagger the entries too, so we don't meet on the outside. It's important, apparently.
So I guess we're not friends.
Guess not.
But even if you were friends though, you'd still stagger it, wouldn't you?
I've got it 96% sorted, which means I've earned 4 of the 5 tier incentives, including the erasers, finger traps. 100% is tier 5. That gets you a caricature portrait. I've accrued an embarrassment of wealth in that
Oh, look at that.
finish file in the can.
But that's the highest award.
We hit our numbers by quarter's end. One of us gets named Refiner of the Quarter, and that gets you a waffle party. Hazards on, Eager Lemur. I'm a deadlock for that. Don't get your hopes up.
I was trying to figure out what he was saying about what it was, how they did it. Like what the data stuff is. Seems like they just do stuff for the sake of doing nothing. Sienna.
Just noticed you removed the group photos from the desk.
Gonna take the new ones at Helly's party today.
Oh.
Oh, there's a party?
Falls into one of 4 essential categories. We group each line of code and then sort it evenly between 5 digital buckets.
I do think the old photos are supposed to stay on the desk until the new ones come in.
should this mean something to me?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it means nothing.
Upstairs fully encoded.
Then how do I categorize it?
You'll just know.
Each category of numbers presents in such an order as to elicit an emotional response. Cat 1 numbers, for example, feel a certain way. They'll be disconcerting, scary.
Sounds dumb, and Mark said it dumb.
Doesn't make sense till you see it, and it takes a while to see.
I just printed out the passage of the handbook on changing out group photos to peruse.
Am I trapped here?
In what way?
Like if it turns out I hate this and I want to quit, is that an option?
Not really, unless you unsever.
You can submit a resignation request with your outside self for review. Do tend to be rejected. Plus, you know,
Your other part of you probably won't want to quit.
since this perceptual version of you only exists at Lumen,
Technically, you'll die.
quitting would effectively end your life.
Ooh, sweet melon bar.
Hi, Mr. Milchak.
Ellie, welcome. I'm agog at how well I can tell you're already fitting in.
I haven't heard that word in a while. Agog.
Let's get this party started.
Well, my name is Irving. I know all 9 core Lumen principles.
What's your favorite?
All 9.
Don't know.
I think I'd say cheer.
No trust fall today, Irv.
Is he okay? He's looking a little bit bewildered.
No. I'm Helly. I've been at Lumen for like 10 hours total, and I'm sorry, I don't know anything about myself.
I'm sure you do, Helly.
I really don't. I guess I went home last night, but I don't know if home is a house or an apartment or if I live with a family.
I like to think my Audi lives on like a riverboat.
Imagination.
They're us on the outside.
You saw yours yesterday in the video.
Right. I actually have a few things to say to her. Can I record something back?
There's a communication between selves is pretty curtailed.
So what if I write her a note?
Unfortunately, the elevators are equipped with something called code detectors, so messages can't be passed through.
They're like metal detectors for written symbols. A Lumen original, apparently.
Okay, well, what if
I don't think you're quite getting the game here, Helly.
There's got to be a way that you could be able to get a message to the outside. Write it on your key card, maybe?
Guys, this is Helly. She's 30 years old, she's allergic to almonds, and has weak enamel. And seeing her here with you all, she most definitely has a family.
Sickly sweet. But they are like a family.
Been with Lumen about 2 years. I absolutely love this game.
You said that last time.
Fair enough. Well, I
I like the slight blurring around the edge of the...
broke protocol this morning.
Uh-oh, don't say that to him.
I was dusting the old group photos. It just made me feel sad. Worried won't be able to run MDR like he did.
I have similar worries.
Put them in the storage closet, which we're not supposed to do.
I mean, it's not the end of the world.
Thank you for telling me, Mark. I actually find your reaction sweet. It is puzzling you have an outburst like this for Petey and not for, say, Carol D.
But we knew Carol D was leaving. Or how do you film to thank you?
Oh, and they didn't with Petey.
Petey was just gone.
Because he severed before, yeah.
I don't know if he's at some new job or drunk on a beach.
Or dead.
Or dead.
That's enough, please.
Well, he's not. We know he's not. But they don't know that because they're the innies.
So things like deaths happen outside of here. A life at Lumen is protected from such things. And I think a great potential response to that from all of you is gratitude.
Can you really be protected constantly?
I also think that melon isn't getting any tastier.
I don't like the way he's overly happy. I love the soundtrack though. Oh, the food could be drugged. You never know. Also, I keep thinking he looks like the guy in the picture frame. Behind. What's with the stuff under the net?
Sorry I derailed your game.
I thought I already had. You made it way worse. So how are you going to figure out if Petey's okay?
I think Milchick was pretty clear.
You're just done asking about your best friend because our babysitter told you to stop?
You know, Milchick's a nice man. When he says something, it's best to listen, because he can't always be nice like that.
Oh.
This new group photo before the melon bloat sets in.
Passive aggressive. He's just plastering a smile on his face. Oh, it's all fine, I swear.
All right. Remember, you're going to be looking at this every day. Say gratitude.
Put some kind of code into it. Help me.
What are you doing?
I just think I'm not going to work here anymore.
Yeah, ish.
I quit. I don't want to do the file sorting thing, or the never seeing the sun thing, or the disappearing friends thing. I just don't want any of it.
There's code detectors.
Do you know that? Have you tried? Because frankly, it sounds made up.
Oh, I like this. She's trying to break the system. Come on.
Ellie?
This is where the corridor's never ending. Is it gonna work? Who's that?
Mr. Greener?
Come on out.
Oh, I don't like him.
Perhaps you better come with me.
So you found my wayward trainee. Appreciate your help, sir, as always. The note.
It's just a game.
It's my first time training. Must have just forgotten to go over data smuggling rules. Sorry, this is Helly. Helly, Mr. Grainer.
Mr. Grainer.
If Helly tripped the code detectors, it's on me. I apologize for that, sir.
Big department chief now, Marquez. On you then. Let's go.
How are they gonna punish him? Because there's such a maze of corridors in this place. They could have made the building layout a little easier, couldn't they? Also, I'm fairly sure that's the same corridor they just walked down for filming purposes. Ominous. What? By break room, do they mean you're locked in there until you physically break? Not, it's a break room, or it makes you pass out or something? Oh.
So you're a doula.
Midwife.
How many deliveries have you?
Delivered.
Over 300.
So cool, that's such a high amount.
We get 2 a day, depending.
That's not as many as I thought it would have been, actually. 2 a day.
Are you vetting me for your sister? I'm kidding.
Imagine if that's what he was doing, instead of a date.
Lumen. Like half this town.
And half of me. That was a joke.
And that she's spying for Luna.
Archives division, sort of a corporate historian, apparently.
Wants to hear information.
So you don't know who you work with or what you do or anything. What if you snuck in a note?
And sneak notes.
Like, you could have a girlfriend at Lumen and not know it. And if you met someone out here, you wouldn't know it in there. Forget they exist for 8 hours every day. It doesn't mess with your head?
I think for some people, it's the point.
The cinematography in this is fantastic, like that shot. Slight angle to it. Beautiful.
It just feels like a reasonable temperature, too. Minnesota was very cold the one time I visited from my home in Montana.
So those are different places.
Uh-huh. So do you live in Lumen housing?
Make it sound like dorms.
It does sound like that.
I live in, yes, they happen to be subsidized by the company that employs me.
And legalize severance in the workplace?
Nice, the WC's up for that.
Who?
The Whole Mind Collective, they're great.
You folks have a moment for children's brain health?
We do.
They probably won't like
To get a
him
measure on the ballot to keep megacorporations like Lumen from continuing to force legalize
because of Severance. That's what I was thinking.
They're forcing it now.
That's what they're lobbying for.
What about the self-mutilating types that do it willingly? I mean, I heard that some of them are so deluded they don't even know they're victims. I also heard that if you're severed, you go to 2 separate hells. Is that true?
Hey man, you want to benefit off forced labor, and that's up to you.
Forced labor! So people can just, like, self-imprison. Are you captive right now?
I wouldn't say it was forced labour, really, because the outside one is willing.
Your past self chose to walk you down here to be an infantilizing to people.
Severance is subjugation.
Oh, that's nice language for it. What are you, 12?
I suppose it imprisons his inside one.
12 years old? Are you even in high school yet? Come on.
Calm down. Absolute pointless argument. because you're not going to get anywhere. I kind of feel like his inside himself has got a lot more going for it in some ways than his outside.
This is Selvig.
Peace offering.
Are we fighting?
Just keep thinking about those damn bins.
Well, that is so not necessary. Very kind. Thank you.
I have this feeling that she hasn't got severance and she knows inside and outside. Just because of the look that she gave him in the last episode at the end.
Here, why don't you come in? I have milk.
Why, thank you. I'm experimenting with chamomile, so no hard feelings if you gag.
Oh.
For that third bulb to revive itself.
Keep forgetting to change that.
You smell nice. Were you on a date?
Sister set me up with her doula. Midwife. Didn't really feel like anything.
Oh, the sister actually set him up with the midwife. Kind of sweet, I suppose, in some ways. How strange that the boss is his neighbour.
These are magic.
Oh.
They've probably got something in them.
I'm experimenting with chamomile, so no hard feelings if you gag. My late husband was a carpenter. And before he passed, he said he would start building us a house in the hereafter. And there would be a small guest apartment in the back in case I found a new man before I got there.
You're not going to drug him and keep him captive, are you?
So sweet.
Yes. He even drew blueprints, which I keep in my purse.
She plays an amazing role in this.
Well, come by the shop, okay? I'll
Kind of creepy.
bath bomb that'll make you sleep like a rag doll.
Try to get down there.
So she said come by the shop. But she doesn't work at the shop, she works at that place, and then she's putting this front on because he doesn't know who she is. Or maybe she works at the shop on weekends. Sorry, I know I have all the questions and I'm talking a lot at the moment about some parts of this. Oh. Gemma was his ex. They're beautiful houses, though. Yeah, that's the card.
Mr. Scout, what a pleasure.
I actually woke up not feeling terribly well.
Oh no. May I ask how serious it is?
Well, nothing bad, just...
The other guy knows he's faking it. Oh no.
Should be back tomorrow.
Well, I'm sorry. I know your innie will be sad to have missed the day.
He's probably going to punish when he gets back.
Okay, Mr. Scout?
Where's Mark?
Missed you too.
You don't think that...
He's probably sick. They wouldn't bounce him and Petey the same week.
So Petey's only been the week.
Quarterly deadline's coming up, and I'm not looking to be department chief.
A lot of confidence for a man who once got disciplined for dozing. Sorry.
I can't help that I was hired older than you.
That's right, I'd probably drift off as well.
Just never stops, huh?
Endless toil.
Where's Mark?
Sick or fired? Probably sick.
I wouldn't have fired him for my note thing, would they?
No way. He did a stint in the break room yesterday.
I forgot that was the last thing. That's the last thing that she remembers.
Did he sound ill?
I don't know. He said it was abdominal.
Funny timing.
But really, how would his outer self know about anything that happened with the inner self anyway? So they can't say, oh, funny timing. There's no way they can get the message out, like they've said.
The erasers are mostly decorative, since we don't have pencils. Finger trap is fun as long as you know how to use it safely, but it's really more about what they represent.
You have to push your fingers in to get it out.
You know, we finish on average 1 in 5 files before they expire, which is better than it used to be before Mark's freshman fluke.
Love this shot.
It's a freshman fluke.
His voice is going in reverse. What happens if you drift off? Do you slip into the other version of you? What? Oh, is he dreaming? It's like Ghostbusters too.
I'm sorry.
Irving.
That was creepy, and I loved it because he was talking to the woman, and then slowly his voice started going into reverse, and I was like, "What?" I thought I heard it. No, it confused me for a second. Did you guys catch that when you first watched it? Because I know it's different. If you watched it on TV, you might not have heard it. Someone was there. Petey.
We'll deduct the time you spent dozing from your Audi's paycheck. What will be harder to fix, Irving, is my and Miss Cobell's trust in you.
So sorry, sir.
To drifting off.
We'll do a wellness check with Miss Casey and go from there, all right?
It's just tired, I presume. Your weakness live in your veins. Oh, let no weakness live in your veins. Tame thy temper, sorry.
Nothing scary yet.
It just feels
Oh
like...
God, a 4.
You'll understand when you see it, so just be patient.
What even are these numbers? Like, do we even know what we're supposedly cleaning?
Yeah. I still wondered if it was brain matter. Like brain data.
My theory, the C.
The C.
Think about it. If our Audis are up there severing their brains, it must have gotten pretty bad. Famine, plagues, etc. So what is a desperate humanity to do?
I like the way he thinks.
Populate the sea?
Populate the sea. Clean up all the deadly eels. Can't cohabitate with that. So we send the probes down. They send us the data coded. We sense what's eels. And then we tell the probes to blow up.
Pretty good. A bit like battleships.
This is the leading theory?
Now, Irv thinks we're cutting swear words out of movies.
Could be that. I still think it's something weird, meta, and...
What are we actually working on down there?
I don't know. I thought without severance it would make more sense. They separate us from the other departments. We don't even know how many there are.
Maybe there are none others.
But I've been reintegrated for 2 weeks now. I've been mapping out the floor.
How has he remembered, though?
I hid the original for you when I left.
But how did he pass that through the security protocol?
You okay?
I think it's his other side.
Sorry. Reintegration sickness.
Sure that wasn't the other version of you crying? The innie?
Never heard of that one.
Because I'm the first dipshit that's ever had it. Plus living in a cold-ass greenhouse doesn't help, but I can't go home.
What is it that happens down there that's so bad?
There's this room.
The break room?
We go in there when we don't act right.
Yeah, the break room.
What is it?
He recorded it.
I'm afraid you're not sorry. I truly am. I'm sorry. Please read the statement again. Forgive me for the harm I have caused this world. None may atone for my actions but me. Only in me shall their stain live on. I am thankful to have been caught, my fall cut short by those with wizened hands. All I can be is sorry, and that is all that I am. I'm afraid you don't mean it. Again.
It's so weird.
Forgive me for the harm I have caused this world. None may atone for my actions but me.
Harm you've caused the world?
What is that?
That's the break room.
Don't know why, it reminds me of... Has anyone played Stanley Parable? I've seen videos about it and it reminds me of the left and right door in Stanley Parable because it's in an office like this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, Christopher Walken. Thought I'd seen his name on the intro.
Admiring the art while I wait.
That piece hung in the perpetuity wing for many years.
It broke my heart when they took it down.
It's better here. It's calming.
I'm Irving, macro data refinement. Are you a department head?
Optics and design. A two-person department, so.
So this is your work?
Optics and design of what?
We don't paint them.
I loved that you did the Ambrose cycle in the team building space last quarter.
Huh.
Never seen it.
It's rare to meet a sophisticate.
What if they're designing and sorting data of Earth, of life as we know
I
it?
only think of O&D when new handbook totes come in.
Well, I love those.
There's new ones coming. Best design yet, in my view.
Now, that's all I'll be thinking about until then.
Irving?
This seems relaxing, I like it.
All right, Irving. To do is share with you some facts about your Audi. These facts should be very pleasing.
Oh, I'd love this.
Just relax your body.
It's like ASMR.
Try to enjoy each equally. These facts are not to be shared outside this room. They're yours to enjoy. Your Audi is generous.
This is giving me ASMR tingles.
Your Audi is a friend to children and to the elderly and the insane. Your Audi is strong and helps someone lift a heavy object. Your Audi attends many dances and is popular among the other attendees.
Trying to make him feel proud of his outside self.
Your Audi likes films and owns a machine that can play them. Your Audi is splendid and can swim gracefully and well. I'm sorry. Please try to enjoy each fact equally and not show preference for any over the others.
I think
10
he's...
points off. You have 90 points remaining.
Points?
But
Please don't speak.
he was chuckling at the whole thing in general and how pleased he is, I presume.
Your Audi won a game 2 weeks ago. Your Audi values water. Photo of your Audi with a trophy was once in a newspaper.
Why are they recording him as well?
No fear of muggers or knaves. Your Audi likes the sound of radar. Your Audi is skilled at kissing and lovemaking.
Oh, they're trying to... Oh,
I'm sorry.
that will deduct points.
That's 10 points off.
I was just...
Please don't speak, or all remaining points will be deducted and the wellness session will end.
This reminds me, have you seen Blade Runner 2049? You know the test? The test that every time you were less than optimal to what they want, you would be chastised pretty much for being more human. Like for having emotion. Oh, the choices.
Is it just the elevators?
What?
Like the code detectors? Or is it the stairwells too?
Stairwells too. Why?
No one accepts the resignations. What makes you think they're being delivered at all?
You gotta let the info smuggling notion go.
Okay, but how good are the scanners? What if you wrote the letters funky like one of those robot tests?
Hi, kids. What's for dinner?
Nope.
How was wellness?
Very restorative. I met the O&D department head.
Bert? I've met that guy. He's a f***. You didn't tell him where we are, did you?
Bert's not a f***. And no.
For the safety of this department.
Oh, was she getting scary numbers?
Don't pretend you care about this department.
Martin, we're supposed to like the perks. And all
Well, the 5?
Do
Hey
it.
guys.
I think I found a scary number.
That.
Yep.
Why is it a...
Oh, 0. Well, because it's sitting still.
Can you see the perimeter?
Oh, why is this reminding me of, is this Sudoku? Were you...
boom. And refined.
Hip, hip.
They were scary. The numbers were scary.
Here's the couch. You can use the shower.
What are you trying to say?
Nothing.
Thanks for doing this, Mark.
Figured my work self would be pissed if I let you sleep in a greenhouse.
Be careful of your neighbour. You don't know, but she knows him. And will he know her as well?
You okay in there?
Yeah, I'm good.
Don't answer it, because they'll probably track you. Oh, God. Was his brain having an adverse reaction to... He's been out of it for a couple of weeks, he said. Oh. Yeah, it's all to do with the split of his brain.
You okay?
Is he gone? Like, dead from his brain glitching out to the other side? Sorry, I feel like I spoke through that episode a fair amount. It was because I had so many questions. What was going on at certain different points of it, especially that ending there? Because I know you guys obviously have seen the episode. When I'm thinking something, I'll be probably giving you a look of like, huh? Probably wondering why I'm doing that. So I always like to explain how I'm feeling, what I'm feeling, but like what I'm presuming could be happening. And it's like the end there. Is that him, his mind, obviously with the severance thing that he had his outie, which was him, and then his innie, which was this other one that we saw in the suit. And was it his brain glitching out and his innie becoming prominent and him basically just passing out or going brain dead, basically? I highly doubt it's that, but I feel like it is that his other self could have taken over or something has caused him to just shut down. Could be wrong, could be none of those things, but it's such an interesting concept for this show. And also the relaxing session. Why were they doing that? I think it was, like I was saying about the whole Blade Runner 2049 thing, in that test that they do to make sure that you're not too human. Whereas in this is making sure that you're compliant with the work ethic and the way that they run the business. Also, the machine thing, the reason I keep saying I wonder if it's to do with brain data is because of certain things that keep happening. And obviously we've got the whole brain thing going on with the Severance thing. And I was wondering, because they said optics and design, the Christopher Walken character said optics and design, that for some reason that just made me think of optics being eyes and design being potentially like the design of the universe kind of thing. I don't know, so it was making me think of some higher being that was connected to reality itself. I'd love it to be that kind of thing, because that's the kind of cool idea that I would write myself, and one that's very similar to something that I have actually written myself, except not to do with that kind of thing, but somehow we can control reality through something similar. I'm not going to say what it was though, but I love the concept. I'm just a little unsure, and I know this is the whole point at the moment. They're teasing us these things, so it makes us go, what? Why? What does this mean? And that's why it's such a good show, because it drip feeds us this information and then it keeps us questioning every single little thing. I love it personally. We're only 2 episodes in and I love it. Like, I don't know, why is his boss his neighbor? I personally don't think she is part of the Severance system. I think she knows everything, inside and outside. I don't think she's split in any way. I think as a neighbor she's putting an act on, playing that she's this good neighbor, etc. But she's secretly not spying on him, but she's secretly in his life, kind of watching him. Potentially she knew how good a mind he had, and that's why she brought him on at the business. I don't know. But then again, I also thought that PT at one point could have been his dad or something. I wasn't entirely sure. What are your guys' thoughts? I feel like there was a lot of purpose for a lot of the shots that were in that as well. Some of the cinematography seemed to be done for a reason, and I enjoyed that, because there was a shot in there as well with a certain angle to it that reminded me, it almost mimicked it perfectly to the shot that I said about in the previous episode, just as PT left the diner. They use a lot of perspective kind of lines, like vanishing points and lines that almost draw you into certain parts of the shot, like the shot I was talking about in this episode and in the previous episode, where the lines draw you towards where that character is at that moment in time on screen. When you learn about structure or composing a shot, you look at those kind of things like the rule of thirds and leading lines towards certain objects if you want to draw specific attention to those objects, and I feel like they do that quite a lot. It's also intriguing that the intro is like it is. It makes perfect sense because of what the show is about, but I really love the eerie surrealness of it, and I really hope that we do get more scenes like the dream sequence in this, where the guy was dreaming and he had all the gunk ooze stuff coming down, you know, like the really thick ink, the really thick oil or whatever it was just coming down in his dream. And the bit that I picked up on, and that's the thing, I don't know, did you guys see that when you first, or did you guys hear it? The guy's voice started going in reverse in the background. My ears picked up on his voice specifically, not only because he was the only one talking, because it was very quiet in the background, but because his voice was in stereo. And then slowly it became one ear only. And that made me listen in to what he was saying, because we only had that voice. I think her voice was slightly muffled. She said something at one point, but we were just focused on the guy and you could hear this voice. And then suddenly it just goes in reverse. And I went, what?
1 in 5 files before they expire, which is better than it used freshman flu.
So obviously that was probably the start of him dreaming, and as you go into daydreams, get drowsy and drift off, kind of reality and perception of everything does break down a bit, and you do jumble everything together, so it makes sense why that was happening. Yeah, I'm a big fan of psychological stuff, reality, time bending, playing with the subconscious, that kind of thing, and this show does it incredibly well. I still can't believe that it's a Ben Stiller production. I still can't believe that it got Ben Stiller behind the helm of this, or at least as the executive producer anyway. Also, one thing I do quite like is the thing with the numbers. I wasn't sure if I'd like it at first because I didn't know like how they did what they did, the micro number thing, but it's interesting what it is, how they figure it out when they see that thing. I presume it was because the 0 wasn't wiggling around, it was just there, not moving whatsoever on the screen. It was bigger. She wasn't hovered over it. It was just bigger on the screen. I don't see how that was scary, but obviously in their mind's perception, it was scary. But the way that she was going around it as well reminded me, I only remembered the other day about this game from way back when, but Minesweeper, whatever number around the outside it was, would say like if the bomb was around it or not. Well, instead of Minesweeper, maybe it's Mindsweeper. And they're having to get rid of all of the bad thoughts, the terrible stuff in the universe, in whatever they're doing, the brain data, whatever. And that's why they have to keep compartmentalizing everything. Or maybe they're structuring memories or historic events in reality. Hey, maybe it is to do with heaven and hell. Like Patricia Arquette's character mentioned hell in the previous episode. Maybe it is. Maybe that's what they're sorting. Maybe they're sorting the bad eggs from the good eggs of people. Anyway, I don't want to speculate too much because I'm probably kind of waffling about my thoughts on it. I prefer just to see it in the episode and figure out what it's going to be like.
Hello guys. Sorry you got this really weird Dutch angle of me, by the way, and you've got my Converse spelly things in the corner of the shop. So updates on Severance stuff. So I have been listening to the podcast of Severance. I had no idea that was even a thing. Thank you to you guys for reaching out and letting me know that it was a thing.
Hey, I'm Ben Stiller.
And I'm Adam Scott.
And we make a TV show called Severance.
Ben and I are going to be binging the show right along with everyone else and dropping episode by episode recap podcasts.
So what I'm planning on doing is only snippets of it, because I want you to go and check it out for yourselves. I want to try and, if I can, include some snippets of the episodes, of like the podcast episodes within this. And I'm so sorry if the lighting is absolutely terrible in it. It's weirdly now a very sunny day. It's been absolutely torrential downpours. So I thought, while I'm on my journey, update you guys on my thoughts on the podcast. It's phenomenal. The episodes, each episode, if you've not listened to their podcast, I'm going to see if I can get rid of that. Hang on. At least it's not in the middle of the shop for you. The episodes are, like, each episode focuses on a different episode of the show itself, which is fantastic because they get to break down everything story-wise after, like, a break. And before that break, they get to have their own chat between each other about their experiences, not so much about the episode, but just on the show in general, and talk to the guest about how they've found the show so far and that kind of thing. Being told about after the fact that we've seen these episodes and knowing what they're on about from the other side of the screen, if that makes sense. And I'm so sorry, this shot just looks terrible, but it just made more sense to me recording it now while it's fresh in my mind, listening to this stuff. So I've just got done, I'm about halfway to about 3/4 of the way through doing episode 2's one, but I have listened to episode 1. Obviously, I've posted that one, so I kind of wanted to do this little update talking about episode 2's and episode 1's briefly, because there's a couple of things I didn't know about each thing. I am planning on listening to more in the car on this journey, because it's a fairly long journey I've got at the moment. So if I do any more, I'm likely to also do updates on those ones. So in episode, I just wanted to briefly mention episode 2's, because so far all I've heard about in episode 2, other than various different story points and intriguing ideas that they've had for it, is one of the main things that sticks out to me so far is the fact that they've shot, I thought it was just maybe the first and the second episode or something, they shot during COVID. I didn't realize that, because you never would have noticed that in the show. And it turns out they shot the entire show, at least I know season 1 anyway. I don't know about season 2. I don't know when they did that.
How certain things came about and the creative process, I think, a little bit, which was very different than the process of making it the second season. Yeah. I think one of the main things was just that we were in this bubble, sort of literally and figuratively, with the show. And nobody really knew what we were doing and had any sort of opinion on it, because nobody knew what it was.
At all.
And so we were kind of figuring it out as we went along.
Yeah, and making season 1, we started the day after Election Day in 2020. So we were in the midst of hardcore lockdown in New York City. So it was a wild environment to be shooting in.
Yeah, we started shooting November of 20, and we went all the way to, like, I guess it was like April or May,
yeah.
maybe. And it never let up
No.
in terms of what the protocols were for that and the testing and so many things that everybody was dealing with in their lives.
But they even started the show before the Apple streaming service was a thing. And they did it as like well, you know this is going to happen in the future.
In my mind, the weirdness of this show was that we were developing the show for a platform that didn't exist yet. And so all of it felt a little bit kind of make-believe. Like, it's sort of like, okay, I guess this is a real thing we're doing.
Right.
But then they started to they started to pay for stuff, and like we had offices and we were building sets and stuff and casting it. And so it's like, all right, we're going to really do this for this unknown platform that will exist at some point in the future.
And I think they started storyboarding, like coming up with the ideas in 2015 or 2016. This is going to span over episode 1 and 2, by the way. So yeah, they started in like 2015 or 2016. And that was like coming up with some ideas. And then 2017 was, I think, when the first chunk of it started being done. And I don't know if that's when casting was done or if that's when the filming actually started.
It's been a sizable chunk of our lives.
Yes, because you first reached out to me about it in January of 2017. That's
right. So to actually go back and check emails and talk to people who worked on the show and to look at the progression of it, it's been, since 2016 was when we became aware of it at Red Hour, our production company.
I actually got the initial script in 2015. It was a version of the script that Dan and I were actually talking about that is very sort of whimsical and a little bit less grounded than the one we ended up moving forward with. Yeah.
Yeah, so they shot during COVID. I think it's the entire season 1 that was shot during that. So they had they didn't have any like social distancing in place from what I can tell, because they quarantined, as in they did tests every day. They made sure when they came in, they were in trucks or trailers that had like plastic up and stuff to keep them from the driver, so that they weren't going to be, transmitting COVID between each other, kind of thing. And they did so much they put so much effort into that. So much so, apparently, the cast had no idea what the crew technically looked like without the mask.
The only time the actors got to talk to other people and see their faces was when camera was rolling. Other than that, we were either alone in our dressing rooms or completely masked up with like you said, the plastic thing in front of our faces. It was really weird.
Right. Well, I think that's, in a way, it brought a lot of humanity to the actual acting part, because it was like the only time in like 9 months that any of us had been close to other human beings.
They'd been so used to seeing people for so long with masks on that they said it felt very strange when they were actually filming scenes without masks, because it was strange seeing a face, like seeing a mouth at the bottom of the face. And they said it was weird because they'd never seen the crew's faces until the wrap party, which happened in, I think they said, April of 2021. Basically, when lockdown finished, that's when they then had their wrap party. Then they got to see everybody's faces. And they said it looked really weird because, having not seen mouths in so long, it was crazy to finally see mouths. Like I think Adam Scott says, it's like chasms at the bottom of the face.
But for us as a cast and crew, there were people who, like, basically you never saw the bottom of their face in the crew. That at the end, when we had our wrap party, finally, like in May or June, where there was like that first break before everything came back again and masks were off.
Yes.
And I remember seeing people in the crew that I worked with for 9 months and not realizing they looked like that, because I'd assumed they looked different behind their masks.
Totally.
Yeah.
And how weird mouths were.
Yes.
Forgot that there's like this chasm at the bottom of faces.
Yeah, that's technically all I've heard, really, of episode 2. So I've got up to the bit where they're talking about COVID, and it just baffled me. So I thought, I was going to do it before, but then I thought, no, I need to record an update to this of doing these videos. Honestly, if you love hearing behind the scenes, you know me, I love a bit of trivia behind the scenes. information about shows that I'm watching or films that I'm watching or whatever. And if you like that kind of thing, extra information, I highly recommend the podcast. It's very, very good. They go into details about like the surrounding things. Like apparently the building that they shot, this was in episode 1, the building they shot Lumen in was the old, I think they said something labs, like Bold Labs or something, in just outside of New York. And apparently they never filmed in that place before at all. Like no shows, no films or anything. They laughed and said almost every place in New York seems to have a Law and Order episode filmed in there. And that one, that place apparently never had any filming taking place there. So their production was the very first thing.
So the Lumen building is the Bell Labs building that was built in the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
And designed by Eero Saarinen, and Jessica, our cinematographer, found it Googling, we were looking for office buildings.
Oh, I didn't know it was Jess.
Yeah. And we saw that she found this shot, this overhead shot of Bell Labs in Homedale, New Jersey, that had this insane sort of egg-shaped parking lot around the building that was so huge. It was, and looking at it from above, the scale of it was massive.
Yeah.
And so we went down there and checked it out, and that was, I think, the first location we found. And it dictated so much for us. And the biggest thing when we got there that we realized was that nobody had filmed anything there.
Yeah, that is crazy to me.
I mean, because when you're making something, the big question you ask when you get to a cool location is like, well, what else did they film here? You know, how many episodes of Law and Order did they do here?
Yeah.
Especially in New York.
I feel like it's something that's always on your mind. Something that I think is great is locations, even actors. Can we find new stuff to put on that people haven't seen before?
Yeah, I feel like that, particularly for me with music sometimes, and definitely with locations. And in New York, it's hard because there's so many things that are filmed there. But this was a little bit out of the zone, as they call it, which is like sort of like a 25-mile zone. You can drive out of the city to get somewhere without being on location.
Oh,
and
interesting.
This was further away, but it was so perfect. And when we walked in and saw the scale of and the design elements that were still there from the original time it was built, it was like, no question, this is the place.
Yeah. And they also make mention as well. I made the joke about, and obviously all of you guys probably said the same thing when you first watched the show. They made the joke about the intro sequence of him, not the intro sequences in the, I've got something to say actually about the actual title sequence, which I'll do it in a minute. But the walking sequence at the beginning of episode 1, they actually spoke about that, and they said that we wanted to do something with the hallways that they had. They wanted to just basically use all the hallways and thought, why don't we just try this? And so they just filmed all the hallways, and they don't normally use a Steadicam apparently for quite a bit of it, but so they usually use the dolly shots.
We have the long walk in the hallway, the infamous long walk in the hallway. How long is it really? Do we know?
45 minutes?
Yeah, 45, 50 minutes.
It's like is it like a minute and 30 seconds or a minute 45
I think
seconds?
so.
Something like
Yeah.
that. So,
I remember on like take 3, you were like, you know what? How about halfway through you check your watch?
Yes. Well, no. This is what I love about this shot is, first of all, it came up because we just wanted to use all the hallways we had on our set.
Yeah.
It was just like almost a lark. We said, hey, why can't we just try doing? And we don't use a Steadicam in the show usually, so it's a dolly camera like on a rig with wheels. And we had this team pulling you through these hallways, and we said, let's just go use every turn we have in every hall on our set that Jeremy Hindle built that takes up the whole stage. And so we did it, and it happened to be like, oh wow, this is actually really interesting. And there's a certain point in the shot where I think as a viewer, are going, this is going on a really long time.
Yeah.
And that's exactly when Adam checks his watch.
Yeah.
And there's like a little meta moment there that always makes me laugh. And then it
keeps going.
Also, they did use dolly shots for the lift scene as well. They did what they call a zolly, which is the zoom dolly shot, the parallax. Is it parallax? I can't remember the name of it now, but they do the same in, I think they do it in Vertigo. I mentioned this when I watched my Jaws reaction, when I did my Jaws reaction, because they do it in Jaws as well. But it's where the camera goes forward and then you zoom back. Anyway, they do that in the lift. That's how they get that effect. for the transition, and that's why I thought it was when I was watching it. I think I did look it up, and that's why I included it in the edit as well, to kind of verify that it definitely was that. It is.
Jessica and I were talking about it a lot, and the idea came up. I honestly don't remember when we came up with it, but it was just basically the idea of like doing, the old Zolly thing, which is, has been around for a very long time, going back probably, and Hitchcock was sort of the most, Vertigo was like the most famous.
Yep.
And then Spielberg's
Jaws.
Yeah, the Jaws. And Jaws is probably my maybe top 2 movies.
Yep.
Or one maybe. And I thought, well, if we can do like a subtle Zolly, which now a Zolly is the camera is dollying in, which means it's on wheels pushing towards the actor. And at the same time, you're zooming out on the lens. So you have a zoom lens that can zoom in and out and make things bigger or smaller, but then the camera itself is coming in. So the lens is zooming out while the camera's going in. And so it gives this effect where you get like this parallax on the background that makes you feel like something's going on, that, that the background's coming closer. But the other thing it does is it changes the shape of an actor's face, because if you go from a long lens, so like a telephoto lens, which compresses the image, and you zoom out to a wide lens, it literally makes a face look different. Because the way that the glass works, if you put a lens right up to the face of someone that's wide, they'll look kind of a little bit distorted when you see those sort of like kind of crazy, distorted, images of people, is what creates that effect.
And I remember that we had kind of the 3 walls of the elevator set up with the dolly track and the camera, but it was sort of movable. So when we were, depending on which stage we were on, before we figured out exactly what we were going to settle on, what I was going to do when you guys were zollying into me, when we were just experimenting and sort of figuring it out, you would always have that sort of nearby, depending on what we were shooting. And when we had time, we would go over and try and figure it out.
Right. We did a lot of tests on it. We always do a lot of tests to figure out what stuff looks like. But the main essential element of making it work, I think, is the acting, because Adam would have to we figured out, like, let's do something that changes your consciousness.
Well, you had the idea to, like, let's maybe flutter the eyes.
Yes.
That could be like a signal that something's happening.
Yeah.
And I still don't know how you do that as well as you do, by the way. I've literally filmed myself seeing if I can do it, and I can't even get close.
Well, we did a lot that didn't work, and as soon as like we're doing one that feels wrong, it's like, no, let's try. We did it a lot.
So they were talking about that, and they said that they used the dolly, I believe. A dolly basically, by the way, is the camera is on a tripod on wheels or on a track that runs along a certain like space. You as a viewer are going, oh my God, this is taking so long. And I mentioned that, didn't I? When I watched it, I said, this feels like it's just taking forever. And during that, apparently Ben Stiller said to Adam Scott, why don't you just check your watch? Or Adam Scott just did it. I can't remember which one now. And he said it's quite funny because at the moment that we use that shot of you doing that, it's around the same kind of moment that most viewers would go, hang on, this is taking a while now. And you just look at your watch, which it sort of seems like the viewer is kind of connected to the character in some way. I thought that was quite a cool little touch.
And we have the long walk in the hallway, the infamous long walk in the hallway. How long is it really? Do we know?
45 minutes?
Yeah, 45, 50 minutes.
It's like is it like a minute and 30 seconds or a minute and 45 seconds?
So.
Something like
that.
I remember on like take 3, you were like, you know what? How about halfway through you check your watch?
Yes. Well, no, this is what I love about this shot is, first of all, it came up because we just wanted to use all the hallways we had on our set.
Yeah.
It was just like almost a lark. We said, hey, why can't we just try doing, and we don't use a steady cam in the show usually. So it's a dolly camera like on a rig with wheels. And we had this team pulling you through these hallways, and we said, let's just go use every turn we have in every hall on our set that Jeremy Hindle built that takes up the whole stage. And so we did it, and it happened to be like, oh, wow, this is actually really interesting. And there's a certain point in the shot where I think as a viewer, are going, this is going on a really long time.
Yeah.
And that's exactly when Adam checks his watch.
Yeah.
And there's like a little meta moment there that always makes me laugh. And then
it keeps going.
Yeah, they go through so many different things. They also mention about Patricia Arquette as well. And the best way to kind of introduce her character, because most people wouldn't sort of know her voice. And yeah, it's interesting.
The idea was like, let's not show Patricia until we have to. But I think you kind of know her voice. But we basically just held on you for as long as we could until we had to cut to her. And I always felt like, okay, the audience is probably going to get it, or they're getting it as it goes along.
But in episode 2, they talk about the opening sequence. And do you remember I said, when I watched the opening sequence, I said, who did they get to make this? Because it reminds me of a guy that I saw on Instagram. And funnily enough, in the podcast, that is who they it was the guy from Instagram they got. And I'm fairly sure it is the guy that I've seen the work of before as well. They said he's a guy called, I'll have to probably insert the name here just because I can't remember his specifics, like Wager something or other. And his work is phenomenal. And apparently he won an award for it or something because of the show's opening sequence.
The opening credits are done by a man named Oliver Latta who lives in Berlin, and on Instagram he is called Extra Weg. And I was driving to work one day when we were shooting, and somehow, I don't know how it came up, but I saw his feed, and it was this crazy, just trippy 3D animation of like people's brains turning into things and globules going through portals, and it's just so weird.
His Instagram is maybe the best Instagram account.
Yeah, and I just thought, oh wow, this guy could really, we were trying to figure out what to do for the opening titles, and I thought maybe this guy might have an idea about it, and so I reached out to him.
Yeah.
And he had never done any titles before.
Yeah.
And, we basically communicated over the course of the next few months. I'd send him images from the set, different ideas of locations and, ideas that we wanted to be a part of the opening credits. But then he just kind of went off and did his thing with it. And we had the piece of music that Teddy Shapiro had written. And so he created these animatics, which were like sort of like rudimentary storyboards that then he started to fill out. And it was just one of those things, as we were watching it come together, I was like, this is just, I could watch this over and over and over again.
It's so fun and was such a just incredible surprise the first time, because I just went to a studio and went in one of those things with just like hundreds of cameras all around you and stood there for 5 minutes while they took my picture. That was all I had to do for it.
Right. They were capturing you for the 3D animation. Yeah. And the cool thing about it too is that it's kind of there's something on the show where the production design and the cinematography and the costumes and even the opening credits all kind of feed in to the creative process of making the show. And by that I mean ideas are sort of coming from everywhere. And so even in season 2, there are ideas that were in that opening credit sequence that he created that informed season 2 images too. And I think that's just part of making the show. Our prop designer, Kat Miller, who is just the most incredible prop person ever, she designed all of the consoles and all of the Lumen hardware and all those things. So it's all a very collaborative effort, and everything is always feeding everything else.
Yeah, for sure. And Oliver won an Emmy for his opening credits sequence, along with Teddy Shapiro for his music.
The shot of Helly's POV when they walk out of the doors at the back end of the building? Apparently, that shot of her, obviously the reflection of that is added in, but the shot of her body, of like the POV of her body walking out of the door and that's actually the cinematographer. That's not Lauer, who played Helly. That's the cinematographer's body. Apparently she's a very similar build to Helly, so that's, they just used her for it. Which I thought was really interesting, because then at least she kind of gets the shot she wants as well.
At one point, we had the heli POV cam that Jessica, our cinematographer, who is basically around the same size as Britt, wore her costume.
That's right.
And is her POV when you see her. And it's like a helmet cam that she's wearing so she can look down and see her arms. But that's actually Jessica, our cinematographer.
That's amazing.
It was a weird day.
And it totally works, too.
Anyway, yeah, that's all my additions for this. Hope you've really enjoyed this. Just a little extra bits. The podcast, I don't know whereabouts it's available other than I know it's on Spotify because that's where I've been listening to it, on Spotify. So if you've got Spotify, it's there and it's part of your premium subscription. But if you've not got it, then I presume it's available everywhere that podcasts are. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. And I'll send you back to the video now. Bye-bye.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you really enjoyed watching this along with me and hearing my random thoughts about this episode because they were probably pretty random. But yes, hope you can join me next time. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. 1, it's absolutely free. 2, we watch not only things like this, but we also watch classic films like the older classics, the black and white classics. We also watch modern things as well, and modern shows and older shows as well. We basically watch a big wide range of things. But yeah, feel free to subscribe if you'd like to, and feel free to like the video if you did in fact like this. Okay, let me know your guys' thoughts. What do you think of this? Don't forget, if you do want to check out the full uncut reaction and be watching this, then you can check out over on the Patreon page or as a YouTube member as well. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. If you're still here to the very end, then thank you so much, and also a huge thank you to my wonderful patrons: Roger C. Griffith, Douglas Collier, Terry V, Miggy Love, Chris Holmes, Jojo, Thomas Masters, Shoehorn1234, Res, Patrick Durr, Andrew Blount, Carlos, Marla Mize, Rob, Chandra Blair, Scott, Paul Zawicki, Randy, Kirsten, Juan Pablo Camero, JL, Maggie, Freya Alexandra, Milo, Miranda, Edna, Gina Aman, Tess Avaland, Olivia, Maria Stoicheva, Neno, Megan Janoviak, Rainy Tomo, Strawberry Tree, Kirsten Bailey, Boobly Boo, Louise Vanderhoven, Aubrey Terry, Wraithist, Heidi Steele, City D, Bumblebee, Joshua, Jesse, Rena Burra, Meat, Lolita Verbakovskia, Eli, Holly Jeffries, Alenka Hafner, HM Garth, Chloe Grover, Neb, Kyle Baker, Abby Barker, Tom Tattershall, Kristen Olds, Tilly Chum, Laura Hutchison, Tara M. Will Coxon, Sazzy Nation, Ferdinand Pitchard, Jim McKay, Sphere, Mel Days, Fran in the Pen, BG, Tara, Rags and Muffins, Nameless Human Being, Deb, Philippa Chapman, Emily, Panda, David Wayne Fox, Jessica Asakovich, Sue Pro, Naja in Workshop, Mike Tunnicliffe, Wolfgang Wolf, Lee, Harvey, Ankame, Aninya, Evan G, Violet Aurora, Pamela Chandler Rash, Scott Howard, Joshua, Robert Williams, Steve Webster, Amanda, Lipaz, Jamie Dodds, King, Happy Go Lucky, Caitlin, Analytical Guy, Maria Torres, Cliff Adams, Jonathan, Dirk, Annie Bonds, Crystal Appleby, Scorpius, Monica Murphy, Sebastian St-Ange, Varga, Leslie McKittrick, Nick Stark, Number 1 Carez, Jen, Biff McKeldin, Birgit, Stephanie Collins, Emily, Ken Duncan, Max, Helena Klitsch, Amy Quattlebaum, Ry Levi, Wayne DeFries, JJ, Mikhail Augustine Reed, Malcolm Hope, Lee Hallam, Bill Waite, Charlie Elkin, Mika Least, Jeffrey Welton, Aleidoscope, George, Ingrid, Stephanie Sexton, and Jude. If you'd like to see more videos, there's some more on the screen right now. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and see you next time.